On's back with another Supershoe, Supertrainer, race shoe for the 4+ hour marathoner. Today, we're reviewing the On Cloudboom Max. What's up, everybody? I'm Eric McIntyre, aka Rad Dad Bod, and you're watching Rad Dad Bod TV, where we review running shoes. Today, like I said, we're reviewing the Cloudboom Max from On, but if it's your first time watching one of my videos, you may notice some timestamps below. Feel free to jump around to the various parts of this review, but if you do so, I'd sure appreciate if you come back, watch the full thing when you get a sec, because I put a lot of time and effort into these videos. And if you've been a viewer for a while but haven't hit that subscribe button, please consider doing so today. Quick plug before we get into the review, I am still actively raising money for the Tokyo Marathon. As of the recording of this video, I'm at about 45-ish% of my goal, which is $3,000 raised. So if you'd like to contribute to those charity funds, please consider using the GoFundMe link in the description below. But I'm also donating any affiliate income from any of the links in the description as well. So if you're in the need for any running fuel or any running gear, please consider either using my Wallico link or my Fuel Goods link below for that gear, as it will give me a kickback and I will be donating that towards charity. Now, quick disclaimers and disclosures. I was provided the shoe for free for the purpose of a review directly from On. That being said, they didn't pay me. I'm not given talk tracks, talking points, anything along those lines, and no one watches the video beforehand. All thoughts are entirely my own. So let's jump in. Quick intended use of the shoe, I already kind of hinted at it, but technically I think this would be categorized as like a Supertrainer, but it is, by On standards and what they're calling it, how they're marketing it, is a race shoe for essentially those who are looking to mainly just finish the marathon. They're not necessarily trying to race it. They're not necessarily trying to go sub 3 or anything like that. It is kind of that 4+ hour marathoner race shoe. And as such, that's how we're going to be evaluating it today. Now, from a price perspective, the shoe comes in at a steep $230. Now, for a Supertrainer, if we were going to put it directly in that category, I would say that that is on the higher end, in fact, very higher end. But for a race shoe, especially when you consider like the top tier super shoes are going at $275, closing in on $300, and even like cheap super shoes are $250 for the most part nowadays. $230, while expensive, if you do look at this as your marathon racing option, is reasonable. And I do use that word a little loosely in this situation. From a specs perspective, the shoe comes in at 10.4 ounces and 296 grams. And then from a stack standpoint, we're looking at 40 in the heel, 32 in the forefoot for an 8mm heel to toe drop. So it is going to be race legal across the board, though again, if you're using this shoe for your race shoe, you're probably not worried about the World Athletic Standards of legality of race shoes. From a fit perspective, I would say that the shoe fits wide throughout the entirety of the shoe and then fits true to size lengthwise. Now, just for reference to other On shoes, this fits, I would say, similar-ish to the Cloudsurfer Max, fits wider than the Cloudboom Strike, and is narrower than the Cloudmonster 2. So it is actively wide, but it's not so wide that if you've got standard or narrow feet that you can't get it to work, and we'll talk about that in the upper section. But true to size lengthwise, I would not half size up or down. Now, talking about that upper, the material used is a breathable mesh upper. It's a recycled polyester with some TPU overlays just for support. So you can see, you know, there's kind of some of the plasticky overlays here in that forefoot area. You obviously have the On logo, and it's just a little bit of additional lockdown support in some of those high tension areas of the shoe. The upper itself is breathable. I do enjoy it quite a bit. Although it is roomy, it does have a gusseted tongue. The tongue is a little bit short. Now, for me, the short tongue only usually bugs me if I need to use a runner's knot. With the width of the shoe, I thought I was going to need a runner's knot. However, when I got that kind of cinched down, my foot did stay in place. I did not have any heel slippage or anything like that. And for the most part, on the paces that I was running, I wasn't shifting around in the shoe, but it was noticeably roomy. Breathability is really, really nice on the upper, though. That polyester breathable mesh does indeed breathe. It's not overbearing. It's not overly thick. And then the heel, you do get some nice cushion there, more of a traditional upper fit and traditional amount of cushion. It's not going to be overbearing despite the Max name. They use those nice kind of ribbed laces, which really help with lockdown. And then from a lacing structure, I do feel like I can cinch down without having to really, really like choke the shoe or choke my foot into it. So from an upper perspective, it really does get the job done. I didn't have any hot spots, any concerns with it fit whatsoever. Now from a midsole perspective, we actually have a dual density midsole. They use Helion HF, but it's two different materials. So up top you have the PIBA based Helion HF, and then on bottom you actually have a TPEE based Helion HF. So that bottom layer is made and built in a way to be fairly firm. Like as I'm trying to squish it in hand, it almost has like a memory foam type feel. It doesn't really give quite as much. However, that top layer feels like that classic PIBA. It is going to be bouncy, soft, and responsive. The resulting underfoot feel is a little bit stiff to start, but usually within the run, I do feel like the shoe loosens up and it feels actually very, very smooth. The geometry of the shoe is not so aggressive that you're really being propelled forward. And I felt like, honestly, the shoe didn't feel that great at my top speed. So for me, I run, just to give you kind of a reference point, around a 19-20 5K right now. And so you know, fast for me, like my fast paces are going to be like 6 minute and just under 6 minute paces. So when I do my strides, the shoe felt a little bit sloppy on strides. However, thinking of that 4+ hour marathon pace, right? Thinking of that, you know, the 7:30, the 8, the 8:30, the 9-minute miles and above, those all felt really, really smooth and very, very comfortable in the shoe. I didn't feel like the shoe was so aggressive that, you know, I was fighting it and having to fight to hold paces. In fact, it's very smooth. It's very stable as well. And, you know, again, it is on the firmer side compared to a lot of racing shoes out there, but I actually do think that that was really, really nice. It still has enough softness, enough plush where it was comfortable, but it could be comfortable for long periods of time. So the first run I actually took it out on was a 14-mile long run on the weekend, kind of went through progression paces. So finished fast, started slow, and even at a slow, easy pace, it felt very, very comfortable. One of the elements of the midsole as well is there is a nylon plate with some fiberglass infused into it. You can see it kind of through the cutouts in the outsole there. But what's really, really unique is there's actually a circle there in the heel. So when your heel comes down and it strikes, it's actually not really striking a firm or rigid plate. You're actually striking within the hole of the plate. And then it actually then has kind of like a circular shape and then it curves. So you almost then land with your heel and then it gives you more of an aggressive toe off as opposed to a rigid overall feel. So again, this is where I think On can claim this is a race shoe built for 4+ hour marathoners, not a Supertrainer designed as a marathon training companion, because the elements in the shoe are specifically built for runners who are not going to be around that 3-hour pace and are or below and aren't going to be aggressively pushing in that sense. So the shoe itself is not going to be aggressive, but it's going to have elements that aid kind of that 4+ hour runner. And I do feel like that came through. Like I feel like it felt really, really comfortable. I actually took it out on an easy run as well because I was curious. Not that I would normally wear plated shoes on an easy run, though this is not as aggressive, right? It is not as rigid as a carbon plated shoe. It felt really, really comfortable, and it's felt really comfortable, really smooth, and very stable through basically any pace except for kind of, again, my mile and like faster than 5K pace. Now the outsole itself, On has been using like these computer generated or computerized generated outsole patterns, and I don't know if that's the case with this outsole here. Excuse the dead mayflies on the bottom of the shoe, but the grip itself has held up really, really well, and I've been pleasantly surprised with a lot of the grip that On has been putting on their shoes as of late. I don't see any aggressive wear and tear. There is a little bit more than the rest of the shoe if you look kind of at that lateral heel area, but for the most part, it's gripping the ground, it's doing its job, and it feels really good. I don't feel like the shoe is being weighed down either. That's one thing I do want to mention, because at 10 ounces, you know, 10.4 to be exact, like Supertrainers, I'm of the mindset that like, I'm really sensitive to the weight of a shoe. And so for me, Supertrainers, when they are really, really heavy, you can put the lightest, bounciest foam in it, but if the shoe itself is heavy, it doesn't usually overcome that weight for me just by giving it a responsive foam. The Cloudboom Max, I do feel like does overcome its weight. Not that 10.4 is crazy heavy, but it is on the heavier side when you're talking about racing. And I think that they did a good job of balancing weight to give you the support, to give you the cushion that you want for, you know, potentially like a 6-hour marathoner, while still being able to give you some of those speed elements. So I do think that the weight actually is not a huge factor within the shoe. Now, who's it for? I mean, this one's pretty obvious, right? It's for 4+ hour marathoners, those who are looking for a shoe that is going to be stable, those who have wide feet, who want the support underfoot, but still want some of those speed elements without having like an overly bulky shoe. Like the shoe itself, 40 millimeters in the heel, 32 in the forefoot. That's not an overly stacked shoe compared to most super trainers on the market. And so it really is a very pleasant, like, moderately aggressive but comfortable overall ride. The other people who I do think would like this is, you know, On hasn't had, in my mind, like a true super trainer companion for the Cloudboom Strike, or the Cloud Echo. I'm blanking on the exact name, Cloud Echo Boom, or Cloudboom Echo. I think Cloudboom Echo, but they haven't had a true training companion for it. So this could be the training companion for their more top tier race shoes as well. If you're going on your long runs, your tempo runs, long runs with marathon paces, this shoe can definitely do that for you as well. So just some final thoughts. Originally, when I heard and I saw the shoe at TRE last year, I was skeptical. I like, you know, I've liked and enjoyed most of On's releases this year, but I was skeptical. Anytime I hear like, yeah, we're making a super shoe for the masses, or even super trainers, just can be really, really hit or miss for me. And so I came in with a little bit of caution as I reviewed the shoe and didn't expect to like it as much as I did. I genuinely enjoy the shoe quite a bit. I'm taking it out for a tempo run actually tomorrow. I think that it is a very, very comfortable, very, very capable option of doing a lot of different things. And so I think that for its intended use, On did knock it out of the park here. So if you stuck around this far, I sure appreciate you. Let me know in the comments what questions you have about the Cloudboom Max, as well as what I could be doing better to make these videos more entertaining, more interesting, more educational for each and every one of you. Again, quick plug, if you'd like to help me raise funds for the Tokyo Marathon charity, specifically the Sports Legacy Foundation 2, please consider using the links below in the description. And as always, I'll leave you with a question, which is, if you ran a race this last year and didn't use a super shoe, what shoe did you use? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks, everybody.